Hey everybody, welcome back to Record-ology. This is going to be really interesting. So, have you ever thought about, contemplated, purchased, or experienced an ultrasonic vinyl record cleaning system? Supposedly, it's the best of the best when it comes to cleaning your vinyl. It can be a little bit pricey, but there are companies coming out with more affordable options, such as the case today with this VEVOR brand Ultrasonic Cleaner. Cleans not only your records, but your jewelry and anything else that needs ultrasonic cleaning. But does it really do that good of a job? Is it really that much different than like a spin clean? Would I trust it to my prized Patsy Cline 1957 that seems to have permanent fingerprints? Will it make a difference? Only time will tell. You're not going to want to miss this. I honestly never thought I would have an ultrasonic cleaner because they are very pricey. And so, yeah, I just never really assumed that would ever happen. However, these guys reached out and they're like, hey, do you want to review this? I was like, absolutely, yes. So here we go. I did open the box because I wasn't sure if there's a retail box inside. There is not. The box is a little worse for wear, as you can see. So hopefully the product is packed well. Let's get into it. Now, if you're new here or new to vinyl, you may not be aware of this. Or maybe you are. But ultrasonic cleaning is sort of the best way to clean your records. And this is supposedly superseding anything that a spin clean can do, anything you could do with your hands, etc., etc. It essentially takes water and vibrates it at high frequencies and cleans the grooves deeply and gets all the junk out of there. And this one in particular is fairly industrial looking, as you can already tell. So I'm curious about it. It's not huge, but it is pretty industrial, as you can see by this equipment. And it really does feel like equipment. Fairly bulky. There's a power supply, I bet. No idea what this is. Heavy, whatever it is. These are little plastic discs. I think these are like spacers because you can clean multiple records at once. Look at this. You know, a long, long time ago in another life far, far away, I used to work in commercial kitchens. And this kind of reminds me of something I would... In fact, doesn't that look like... If you ever worked in fast food, doesn't that look like one of the serving pans, kind of? But yeah, there is the device itself. I'm going to go ahead and get it out of here. This is something I could have never imagined when I started this channel. Okay, so first we've got a power supply. It's a wall wart power supply. 24 volts, 1 amp. Power core, this is a UPC, similar to like a printer cable. Some tubing. This I was curious about because I'm not sure what this is. So let's go ahead and unwrap it here. It's like a motor. Heavy metal construction. There's a power switch. I know it's like a power module. Obviously, I need to look at the manual on this for sure. This is a bag of knobs. These are the discs we already looked at. Let's see what's in here. Okay. Stuff is very well packed. I don't know what most of this is yet. Obviously, some assembly required. Look at this. There's like these toothed racks with washers and wing nuts. Yeah. Got some work to do. And then you've got these little mesh screen things here. Look at that. That's really interesting. You can make tea in it. No, don't do that. That's not real. Here's some instructions. Okay, so this kind of tells you step by step how to do it. This isn't going to be a how-to video. It's going to be a review, so I'm going to do the tedious things off camera. This is obviously just a protective film here. All right, I'll get the rest of this off, get it put together, and clean some records. And I've got some dirty records that are up to the challenge. That literally looks exactly like the serving tray lids. That is bizarre. Never thought I would own this. You know what I mean? This is something I never thought I would own. Okay, progress report. I've attached this vertical piece, just a little pressure screw back there. This module right here is then placed there with a screw holding it on. That's all done by hand, no tools required. And then the latest thing is this shaft right here. This will be for the records to go on. So now I know that's the motor to spin the records. And there's a little screw on the side of this shaft here to make sure that it is, to make sure that it's tight. So anyway, that's where I'm at right now. I don't know what this is for. Now I know this unit can be used to clean like jewelry and things. So some of these accessories, like I have no idea what this is for yet. It's not mentioned in any of the materials yet. Also, there is, I think there's a need for more instructional stuff because this kind of is not telling you a whole lot. It's showing the specifications of different models. And then this shows you basically what I've done so far, how to connect the essential parts for record cleaning. But in terms of how to operate this, how to do this, you know, I'm still kind of at a loss. Looking in here, there is a drain. The hair amount of rust already down there on the drain. And then back around here, there's a pretty industrial looking spigot to drain that tank. And then the hose, I presume, is for the drain. So yeah, it's got a thread on there that matches. So yeah, I'm sure I could figure this out, but it's a bit intimidating because it's very industrial. Let me look closer at that panel. As you can see on this panel here, we've got temperature controls, on-off controls, and then more temperature or time controls and on-off. So why is there two on-offs? Digital ultrasonic cleaner. It's very cool. I'm just wondering how to do it because there's no true instructions that I can see so far. So I'm going to have to resort to YouTube to figure this out. Okay, lighting's changed. Sorry about that. Some time has gone by. All right, so we're making progress. I actually just watched somebody else's YouTube video, learned a lot. This is a drying rack for the records. So I'll put that together off camera. These discs, we knew those were spacers, but they're coated with a very, very tightly adhered cling wrap on both sides. After you fight to peel that off, the discs are clear. I did notice a little bit of sticky residue on the edges once that was done. Anyway, so I'm going to finish doing this. I'm going to put the rack together, and then we'll work on this. This isn't as complicated as it looked. Basically, there's two temperatures, the actual temperature and the one that you want it to be. That way, once the water gets to temperature. Initially, we're just going to go with the default. And then this is just a timer that you can set, like a 30 minutes is recommended. So let me finish unwrapping these, putting this together, and then we will clean some records. Okay, those acrylic discs have been unwrapped, and now it's time to put this together. A lot of washers, wing nuts. It's plastic construction. The material is kind of interesting. It's like a resin. And apparently it's not obvious where to adjust it in terms of the sizing, so I may need to grab a record in order to help do that. Okay, progress has been made. Here is the drying rack. It seems over-engineered to me. It seems over-engineered. A washer on each side, the plastic instruction, strange. I feel like this was maybe designed to be something else, and somebody's like, we can make a drying rack. I don't see any issue. There's a little strange rust spot there on the plastic. But, this is all very industrial. I feel like it could be intimidating to somebody, especially if you're just a beginner. But I do feel like it's very high quality. Also got all of these unwrapped, like I said. I think they're acrylic. There's still some gummy residue on the edges. I don't think it'll be a problem. Also, it struck me as odd, I didn't notice this until now, that there are two power supplies, a DC and an AC power supply. But it makes sense because when you flip this thing around, you've got the AC power supply for the main unit, and then this add-on device up here is going to be where the DC power is for this spinner unit up here, this motor, and then there's a nice industrial switch on there. Everything feels like of the highest quality, I will say that. Also, I did attach this hose here. I gotta smile, this industrial grade valve. I mean, this is, you know what I mean? By the way, if you've never worked with anything like this, whichever direction the the handle is pointing. If it's parallel to the pipe, that means it's open. If it's not, if it's in a right angle to it, that means it's closed. So it will be going in the same direction of whatever pipe or valve it is. So this is the closed position. And then this is just a piece of rubber tubing that will help us drain it. Obviously, I'm going to have to use a pitcher or something, but at least with this setup, you don't have to like pick it up and dump it out and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and power it on. But first, let's go ahead and start putting those discs up on top. Now, the YouTube video that I keep referencing, I'm going to go ahead and put a link down below so you can watch it. It was a great video. In fact, I've referenced it a couple of times in the creation of my own video. So I've got to, hats off to this guy. He really did a great job. So what we're going to do here is put one spacer on, and then you just basically put a spacer in between every record, and you can do apparently quite a few records, as many as will physically fit on there. However, apparently if you only do one or two, it cleans better. But I'm going to test this under the most difficult conditions, I guess, and that I am going to clean 6 records if I can fit them on there at once. And I figure if it does 6 well, then it'll do 1 or 2 even better, because this thing will take a good half hour for it to clean. I'm going to fill it with filtered water. Distilled would be the best. I don't have distilled, so I'm just going to go with filtered water right off of the tap of my refrigerator. So far, this whole experience reminds me of getting a 3D printer, in that they kind of assume, I feel like, that you already know what you're doing. So I remember putting together the 3D printer. I was like, okay, I don't know how this works. What is this? It felt very similar. It also felt very industrial. Okay, I'm going to keep filling this up. Apparently this is the fill line, this kind of indent area. But if we need to add a little bit more water to make sure that we're covering out up to the run out grooves, but not the paper labels, then we'll do so. Okay, this does take a little bit of time. I don't have the biggest water container here, so. All right, that's a little bit above the fill line. Now let's go ahead and add a little bit of solution. Again, there's no instructions that say to add some solution, but I think it makes sense. So I'm going to add some non-alcohol based cleaning solution. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of record cleaning solution. This is a non-alcoholic formula in here, and this will basically break the surface tension of the water, allowing it to get deep in the grooves and all of that good stuff. All right, now we can finally start putting these records on. So, oh yeah, I wanted to show you how dirty they were to begin with. So these are the Longines Symphonette records that I just picked up. These are in good condition. They're just a little bit dirty. You can see some hairs and things on there. Obviously I want to do a good before and after. So as we go through these, I will kind of show you the condition of each one. So yeah, that looks like a good water level. As you can see, it's in the run out groove. I'm going to put one of these on in between each. I've heard that the labels can get a little wet, but not a huge deal. This one, it looks better on camera than it does to the naked eye, but there's definitely some dust in here as well. These records were well taken care of. They were just, probably stored for the last 30 years of their life, 40 years of their life. I was very happily surprised when I bought this set that they included the bonus record that came with this set. Because when you there was a flexi disc out there too for this, and it said, it was Bing Crosby doing the pitch, and he's like, if you buy this set, it's the only way you can get the latest Bing Crosby album, which is also issued in this case on the Longines Symphonette label. And that particular record was, a separate sleeve, etc., etc. But when I was counting these records, I noticed that there were 7 records in this 6-record set. So obviously something was extra in there, and sure enough, it was the bonus record. So I don't have the sleeve anymore, but I've got the record itself. So I'm very excited for this, and I've, even though it was a few days ago I got these, I've been holding off for this show in order to clean these and listen to these. So, all right, we're getting close now. So hopefully this is interesting for you. Oh yeah, and by the way, on the topic of Longines Symphonette records, These were actually living stereo. You can see some of the grime on that. Living stereo RCA record pressing. So they were premium. In fact, the Longines Symphonette uses the terminology of living sound. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put this on here. That definitely is the last one it can accommodate. So I would say that 7 is the max without them resting on the threaded area of the spindle, which we wouldn't want. So I'm going to turn these on. Obviously, the motor will rotate the records in the bath, and to activate that, we'll push that button. And basically, the way an ultrasonic cleaner works is that it uses high frequencies that are transmitted through the water, and that basically vibrates and creates millions of little bubbles that go in and out with different pressures, water jets and things on a microscopic level, all due to frequencies. Because of that, the frequencies that this thing can emit can bother animals. So I've got a bird and a dog, so I'm hoping that they don't get bothered by it. But, you know, again, time will tell. Next thing I'm going to do is flip this bad boy on. It beeps loudly. It is set to 40 degrees Celsius, currently at 19 degrees Celsius. I'm going to let that come up to temperature. And I'm going to initially just go for the 30 minutes it shows down there. There's a closer look at the control panel there. Don't run it with no water. Make sure that there's water in it. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, so we'll let it come up to temperature and we'll start it. The water level may be a bit high because it is touching those labels. Those are paper labels. That being said, I've never really had a problem with getting the label wet. A lot of people freak out about that. I just have not had a problem with that. So I'm going under the assumption that they'll be fine. This is a $4 set of records, so it's an experiment. It's one I'm willing to take one for the team. You can definitely see some grime and dust on these records. And if this goes well, if this sort of test goes well, my plan is to clean my prized Patsy Cline record that's got those fingerprints I couldn't get off, even with the spin clean. So it'll be interesting to see if this can get them off. Okay, so now I'm waiting for it to come up to temperature. I realized I didn't have it on, so I hit the on-off button. Also, these buttons are very, very loud. Check this out. They're very, very loud. So I'm filming this right now at about 9:30 at night, and it just is what it is. So I've set it 35 degrees Celsius. I was reading online that the temperature, desirable temperature, the optimal temperature is a little bit lower than the default. So we're going to set it 35 Celsius. Right now it's still at 19. I mean, that was cold refrigerated water, so it's probably going to take some time for the heating element to heat it up. As you can see, it is on. And I'm just going to, go get ready for bed, brush my teeth, and let it sort of cook in the background for a while. I'll come check it in a few minutes. Okay, so I've turned it on. It's close enough on the temperature. And now I'm going to start spinning the records by turning the motor on. It is definitely not the quietest thing. Kind of sounds just like a buzzing noise. I don't know how well that's coming across on camera. You can definitely see the bubbles formulating on the record surface there. And I just dumped a bucket of tools on the floor, so that's awesome. There's a side view. You can see things rotating. I know you don't want to watch this for 30 minutes, so through the magic of editing, I am going to cut to the after. Okay, about 3 seconds left. All right. Motor's still on. Oh yeah, it's got a separate button. Okay, the whole thing is off. It is now run for about 30 minutes. I think I'm gonna drain it before I take the records off. This feels strange, but okay, here we go. Okay. Draining the water into the tub. You have to hand it to downloading your music, streaming your music. It's a little bit easier. This is probably the epitome of, making listening to music a pain in the butt. All right, let's take a look at this water. Oh yeah, there's like chunks in there. There's all sorts of particulates. Look at that. Can you see that? Wow. Look at that. Hopefully that's not just stuff from the machine, like the valve or whatever. Okay, I'm going to dump this out and finish draining the water out. So I keep seeing these like reddish brown flakes And I don't really know what it's from. This is the last of the water. Still a lot of air bubbles in there. So, and I always say that the spin clean is a minimum of an hour as well. So time-wise, I don't see it as a huge time saver. The real difference will come in the end product. So you can either just air dry them. I'm going to go ahead and elect to give them a manual dry down with these cloths. These are spin clean cloths. All right, so go through this process. This will be one by one on the records, and I won't make you sit through all of them. All right, so one record at a time, right off the press. Visually, it looks immaculate. There's definitely quite a bit of water on the label. I don't think that'll be a problem. But yeah, look at that playing surface. It looks, when it's wet, it's hard to tell. But this side is drier. That looks like, look at the polish on there. That is incredible. I'm going to give it the same process that I would for a record coming out of, you know, a rotary cleaner like a disc washer or a spin cleaner, something like that. I'm going to get all the bulky water off, as it were, one disc at a time, and then I am going to let it just sit overnight, and we'll take a closer look at the playing surface in the morning. Okay, it's the next morning, and these are thoroughly dry now. I've also had some time to do a little bit more reviewing of other people's comments and things. This thing has great reviews, by the way, on Amazon. And, you know, pending our final thoughts here, I do have a discount code for you guys, so stay tuned for that. But first I want to see what they look like after fully drying. And then I am actually going to do something I wasn't sure if I would ever do. So we'll get to that in just a minute. And I want to run a couple of more tests, even a sound test. I'm just going to pick this one out of the rack. They were all kind of uniformly dusty and fingerprinty and, you know, gunky, even the run out grooves. And look at that. That thing is, that looks brand spanking new. It really does. No damage to the label from the water. People, I feel like, overreact about that. I have seen label damage, and I think if it's left to soak for a long time, then it can definitely do some damage. But I don't think, you know, while you're cleaning it, if it gets wet, if it matters at all. But look at that. It is very, very, very clean. Yeah, I'm impressed. These are going to sound great. These are going to sound really, really good. All right, let me show you the record that I'm going to put in this thing. And I'm chuckling because it's literally my prized possession when it comes to vinyl. Okay, you've seen it in the background in my videos. We've done shows about it. This is my 1957 Patsy Cline self-titled debut album, and it's on the original silver and black Decca label. This is the rarest version of this. This is the original 1957 issue. And to me, this is what I would consider probably my number 1 or 2 record. So it's pretty clean. It's very listenable, but it has permanent fingerprints that the spin clean, you know, multiple spin clean attempts and hand cleaning and spray cleans and alcohol based and non-alcohol based and everything in between. I've tried and tried and tried. And it's almost like the fingerprints are permanently fused on there at this point. And the only thing I haven't tried is ultrasonic cleaning. So I'm going to take this bad boy out of the frame. We'll give it a look-see, and then we'll clean it. And also of note, this is a polystyrene disc. So I'm not sure how that impacts the temperature. I'm going to set it probably in the neighborhood that I had it yesterday, and we'll kind of go from there. Okay, I've got the solution in there again. It's still cold, so I'm going to give it time to come up to temperature. Also, I've got the record out of the display. I wanted to show you, hopefully it'll show up on camera there, what I'm talking about with these fingerprints. Like up here, you can see some. There's more there. You could just sort of see them all over the playing surface. And the grooves are okay. The grooves, there's nothing wrong with the grooves. It's just these smudges. And I think it looks better on camera than it does to the naked eye. So I'm hoping that that's at least partially coming across on camera. I think it is. Yeah, you can see these ones down here. So really hoping, there's a flip side, really hoping that this will do the trick. I'm going to keep it over here in the rack for the time being. Again, I did add some solution. I know there's a debate on whether or not you need any solution. Some people feel that the presence of the ultrasonic cleaning itself breaks the surface tension and you don't need any solution. Some people add a little alcohol. Some people add some sort of, you know, detergent to break that tension. So just like everything else in records, the opinions on how to do this are across the board. Something that's not across the board, though, are some of these opinions that I read. Number one, uniformly people are like, where are the instructions? There's no instructions, but we can figure it out. And that's kind of what I felt like too. Like, we figured it out, but it would have been nice if there was some instructions. I also saw other people that said that there was, it looked almost like it had been used. There was, trace elements of rust here and there and things like that. So it's really hard to say. I feel like this was new though. And this morning it looked like what I thought was rust was gone. So hopefully that is the case. These little plastic discs have a sticky residue around the outside edge, so they would need to be cleaned off. That would have been nice not to have. People say that the rack is a nice touch, but it is fiddly getting it set. Even last night after I was done filming, I was still adjusting that thing. So it would be nice if they at least put little marks on the side as to where it needs to go. I don't know if this would accommodate anything besides a 12-inch record, maybe a 10-inch record, but the hole size isn't the biggest problem because you can always put an adapter, like a spider adapter on, something like that. But in terms of the proximity of the water level, this mechanism on the back here, I'm not going to rotate it because it's full of water, but that power module thing is in the lowest position as it is, so I couldn't lower it anymore for a smaller record. All I can do to control that is to raise the water level. So perhaps with an adapter and the water level being adjusted, you could go to town on that, but I'm not going to do that today. As I've said before, I'm not a huge 7-inch record person. I do have a pretty modest collection of them. But for me, the primary thing are cleaning these 12-inch LPs. A lot of great reviews, though. People say the cleaning quality of the product is better than the VPI cleaner, which is sort of the industry standard for most people, and that they love it. They say it's a bit loud, it's somewhat cumbersome or whatnot, but it does a good job cleaning at the end of the day. And a lot of record store owners specifically say that it's cleaned thousands upon thousands of records. So considering the cost, especially when you think it's basically the cost of a decent turntable, for one of these, and knowing that you can really deep clean your records, there's something to say for that. All right, we're at 22 degrees Celsius, up on our way to either 35 or 40 degrees. And then we'll try to clean the Patsy Cline record on styrene. Okay, just finished. Oops. It's the wrong button. It smells like a hot electrical smell. Kind of like somebody's been soldering in here is what it smells like. Also, all of the suds and bubbles kind of dissipate, especially off the surface of the record. It looks smooth as glass right now. So, all right, let me get this off, dry it, and let's see if we got rid of those smudges. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Okay, so I've been a busy person back in here working on this cleaning project. I want to show you how the Patsy Cline record turned out, and also just to continually, give my input in the process, etc. I've cleaned, a couple of dozen records at this point, both like one at a time and also the whole group together. I don't notice any difference in the cleaning power if you use one record at a time or multiple records. So far it seems to be doing a pretty good job. So let's have a look at that Patsy Cline record. Remember those fingerprints, and here is the after. Unfortunately, they're still there. It didn't work to take those off. Now, it may be a situation where there's like petrified, or perhaps the oils have damaged the structure of the playing surface itself to the point where no amount of cleaning will do anything, and they just sort of are what they are at this point. That may be the case when we flip it over. So cannot fault the unit necessarily, but I thought it was worth a try. It was the only cleaning form I had not tried. Okay, so what we're going to do is take another record that is dirty, and we're going to do a before and after test. So this is a Mitch Miller record. As you can see, it's got some grime up there. And I was debating whether or not to do this test with a clean record before and after, or just, one that is somewhat dirty. So this isn't ridiculously dirty, but it definitely could use a clean. So without further ado, here's an ambient in the room test on my speakers of the before. And then what I'll do is I will clean the record and cut to the after right away, so you can kind of get a good A and B.
I'm in love with you, honey. Say you love me too, honey. No one else will do, in love with you, honey. Say you love me too, honey.
So as you can hear, definitely an improvement. We got rid of all of the visual mud, dirt, grime, grit. It looks sensational. It looks brand new. But it didn't get rid of all of the crackles. Now, this is a vintage record, and vintage vinyl material just breaks down over time. It develops cracks and little pits and things. So over time, it's normal for any record to get some cracks and pops and things that won't go away, and it really aren't a matter of cleanliness, really just a matter of the vinyl material. So I think this is as clean as it can get. Definitely a drastic improvement from when it was dirty, though. Okay, final thoughts. I like this system. I think that it does as good of a job, if not better, than the Spin Clean, but I don't think it's a drastic difference. I don't think that if you have a Spin Clean and you're happy with the results that you need to drop what you're doing and go get one of these. But if you're looking for a solution and you have the funds in order to do so, again, this is a bit more expensive, you know, closer to $200 versus, you know, less than that for a Spin Clean, then this might be a great option. It definitely cleans as well as you're going to get scrubbing those grooves physically with your Spin Clean. It takes a lot of elbow grease. Now, there is a setup element here that we've talked about a lot, and there's, you know, there are caveats to keep in mind. The sound, the industrial nature of it. It's not the most user-friendly thing I've ever, you know, seen before. But that being said, it works really, really good for what it's supposed to do. And I think that if I bring home a stack of dirty records, I'm going to go for this first before the Spin Clean. But that's just, you know, my opinion. Where I'm going to store it is another question. It's pretty cumbersome, even though it's not as big as I'm sure some even, you know, more industrial solutions are. Also, you can clean jewelry with it, and, you know, chains and things like that. I don't know if I showed this already, but it came with this little metal attachment, which I presume is to, you know, put a ring in it and dip it in there. Apparently, you're not supposed to have anything on the actual bottom of it, but, you know, it has to be sort of suspended in the solution. So, yeah, I think it's cool. I'd be curious what you guys have to say about this. Have you tried these? Do you have one? Would you be interested in one? Again, I'll put a discount code and their link down below in the description. Mostly I just want to hear from you guys what you think. I literally have this set up right now. The water's pretty clean still. You saw me putting a couple of records on there. I'm going to load it up again and clean some more records just for my own sake while I've got it going. And yeah, there it is. That's the digital ultrasonic cleaner, from VEVOR. All right, my friends, and that is going to do it. So as I record this outro, I'm running another batch with the VEVOR system. For some strange reason, it's really loud now. Like, it's noticeably louder. And I sort of jostled it, and it didn't seem to make that much difference. Previously, I noticed it was louder, and then when you added more water, that it would sort of quiet it down a little bit. I'm assuming vibrations from the ultrasonic frequencies or something. I don't really know why it would do that. But the water level is still quite high, well into the runout groove, and it's loud. Even through a wall or a closed door, it's probably driving the family crazy right now. And the pets, like I said, seem to do okay with it, but it is kind of a grating sound. It's not the best sound. That being said, the records coming off this thing are fantastically clean, which is why I'm running it in the first place. So maybe you run it in your garage, maybe you run it in your basement, maybe you run it on your back patio. I don't really know. But you can't deny the fact that the thing works phenomenally. It really, really does, and it's less elbow work than, you know, doing this in a Spin Clean for at least an hour. I mean, you clean one record in a Spin Clean, it's an hour. You clean 5 records, it's at least an hour. You have more than that, you're going to be there all afternoon cleaning records, and you are very sore afterwards. If you've done that before, you can attest. So this cuts down on the elbow grease considerably. It's a really cool product, I think. Anyway, my friends, that is going to do it for today. Thank you so very much for being there. As always, thank you for all of your support. But that is going to do it. Happy record hunting. We'll see you next time.